Do you think this guy is the actual key to this whole murder? That he knew his best friend was sleeping with his wife the entire time? Castle asked, rushing down the sidewalk to keep up with Kate's determining strides. I think it's impossible to know someone that well and not know, Kate said as she dodged something nasty on the sidewalk. They've been married for 8 years and he's been friends with Lance since they were kids. There's no way he didn't at least suspect something was going on. Maybe he didn't know exactly what, but I'm pretty sure he would have figured it out. He finds out what's going on between his wife and his best friend and goes into a rage, killing them both, Castle nodded in as he hypothesized. He certainly had the motive. But even if he didn't, he still might have dug up something we missed while he was looking for answers. What about the ringing on Castle phone interrupted him. The ri- he raised his eyebrow and looked down at the screen and held up a finger to Kate. He stepped up over towards the building to their left to get further away from the traffic on Fifth Avenue and answered. Alexis, what? He stopped. His curious expression morphed into concern. Sweetie, calm down. I don't, Castle said, his grave and voiced in a serious paternal mode that proved every once in a while that he really was an adult. Kate moved closer to him, worry shooting through her. Over the sound of the city around them, she was able to hear the started tone of Castle's daughter's voice, and even catch a few words. Dean lied, stabbed, dead, kid. Then a taxi driver laid on his horn, and the rest of this was lost to her. Castle, Beck asked, alarmed. Stabbed and dead were two words that always put her on red alert. But Castle just waved his hand at her in a stand down motion. It's just a book, Alexis. A book, she mouthed. But Castle ignored her. I know, but I know you really get into the characters, honey. I do too, but can't you let them get you so worked up? They're not real. After a few minutes, applauding as he got off the phone, his face still grim. Before Beckett could ask him what the hell was going on, he already called someone out else. Gina, no, the new manuscript isn't quite ready yet. No, will you shut up? I'll get it done, okay? Don't I always? It's fine. Listen, I need you to get in touch with Chuck Shirley. Can you get me his number or at least his publisher's number? After a beat, a dark smile flashed across his face. Perfect. Thanks. He hung up and stuffed his phone back in the pocket, then moved towards the street. You'll have to go to the interview the husband on your own. I have something I need to take care of, he said, flagging the taxi. Then he muttered, probably would be better if a cop wasn't there. If she hadn't already decided to go along, that last sentence would have clenched it for her. The writer got himself into enough trouble without meaning to. She didn't really want to look to see what he could accomplish when his mind was set on mayhem. Want to tell me what's going on, Castle? She asked, determined as she slid into the taxi with him. But all Castle would say was that he needed to pay someone a visit. Kate wanted to ask more questions. Where they were going, who they were going to see, if Alexis was alright, but the serious expression on Castle's face as he watched the scenery go by without really seeing it didn't invite any interrogation. So she decided to just go along with it. Let him do what he needed to do and make sure he didn't get into any trouble along the way. The taxi stopped a few minutes later outside of Javits Convention Center. Kate followed him in, looking around in confusion, and wondered just what the hell was going on. Inside, there were guys and some girls standing around dressed in various of the same outfit, a lot of them wearing tan trench coats and rumpled shirts. Some were dressed as monsters, including the ugliest scarecrow Kate had ever seen. But what really caught her eyes was the one in the plain button-down shirt with jeans, work boots, Carhartted, and leather jackets. Not because the outfits were particularly eye-catching or because there were so many of them, but because they all seemed to be carrying guns. Most of them openly having them tucked into their pants, others with telltales bulge at the small of their back and carrying a few even carrying shotguns. It was only when she caught the sight of the big poster on the wall of muscled men wearing the similar clothes and expression of angst that she relaxed. "What are you doing at a fan convention, Castle?" she asked, putting two and two together. Instead of getting curious and asking how Kate knew anything about cons in the first place, Castle gave a started mm-hmm. His eyes looked on. Something on the other side of the room. The something actually turned out to be someone. They approached the smallish man with scruffy beard and a t-shirt, jeans with a wrinkled spotted coat. He was talking to the two guys dressed in jeans, work boots, and plaid variations of the other people. But that's where the likeness ended. These guys were tall, strong, held themselves up with confidence. The nervous expression on the man's face showed that their words were just as menacing as their expressions. Kate's eyes narrowed. What exactly was Castle getting himself into this time? "Chuck," Castle said to the short, scruffy, hostile man, dripping off of his words. The man, Chuck, looked over at him with and he lost his anxious look, instead narrowing his eyes at Castle. "Dick," he said, just as the stain. Castle's eyes twitched as he looked before saying with a gritted tooth, "I prefer Richard, as you well know. I'll try to remember that. It's been a while. I've almost forgotten. Meanwhile, one of the other two guys Chuck had been talking to moved closer to Kate. She gla- when she glanced over at him, he gave a half smile and a wink. "Offers, huh? Crazy bastards. I'm Dean, by the way. Maybe I could buy you a drink while they get their panties unbunched." Kate pulled her jacket back to the side, revealing her badge. "Detective Kate Beckett," she said with a fake smile. "I think I'll pass." He put Dean put his hands up a little as he gave a nod. "Nothing cock blocks like a shield," he muttered, walking back to the taller guy. "Last time I saw you, you were shouting in my face that you had the power of God behind you, and you would sick an archangel up on my ass if he's to smite me for my mediocre writing," Castle was saying to Chuck when she turned her attention back to them. "I was a little drunk," he said, looking abashed for a second and shooting a glance at the two guys standing off to the side before turning an accusing look back at Castle. "And I seem to remember you claiming you had a beautiful cop under your thumb that would set me up for murder if you asked, saving the world from ever reading about Sam's whining again." The guy that had hit on her snickered, then added, I completely approve of that plan." What kind of fans were these guys? And under his thumb? Kate shot a death glare at Castle that promised they'd be having a talk later. "Also a little drunk," muttered with a glance at Beckett. "And we're getting off talking. I'm here because I got a call from my daughter this afternoon, in tears, after reading your newest supernatural book." Chuck flinched a little, but his slightly panicked glance wasn't directed at Castle's angers. It was aimed at the two men to the side. "You're still putting those out?" the bigger guy sputtered in disbelief. "This freak fest and the book. Man, you are seriously asking for it," the other guy said, his voice going from joking friendly to low and threatening. "Come on, the books was there, and I was broke," Chuck said, pleading back away from the two men. "And see, people still want to hear about you, the adventures of Sam and Dean. It's powerful stuff, teaches good morals, and all that." Whatever was going on between the writers and the two big men was getting more and more interesting, but Castle didn't seem to notice. For once, the subtle nuisance he was so great at catching were lost on him. He stepped forward and stopped Chuck's retreating by grabbing at the front of his rumpled jacket. Hey, kid. Kate had been watching the other two, wondering about their reaction, but seeing Castle actually putting his hand on Chuck jerked her attention back to them. Castle, she warned. Good moral lessons, he spat. Kate ignored. You just turned my daughter's favorite character into a lying, murderous douchebag. Cass? The shorter guy asked, his anger melting into surprise in an instant. He has fans? Of course he does, Chuck said. He has just as many fans as you two, actually. He's a good-looking angel with a soft spot for humanity, and an constant torture and torn personality. He carries more weight than Dean, and all and has all of Sam's angst refined down to perfection. Chicks go crazy for that stuff. We're not even going to get into what you did with Cass. Happened to be my favorite character, Castle said, then looked a little embarrassed at his admittance. He shoved Chuck away and went on quickly. Her favorite character was Dean. You turned me, Dean, into a murderous lying douchebag? The shorter of the two asked in outrage. He did. Spoiler alerts. He had Dean kill Sam's childhood girlfriend in cold blood because she was a monster after he promised he wouldn't touch her. Both men had gone dead white. The taller one's head swerved so slowly and stiffly it looked at to look at the other that Kate wouldn't have been surprised if she heard cracking. And he turned him into an alcoholic because everyone wants to watch their favorite character turn into a drunken asshole. Chuck had been watching the two guys on the side very carefully, but at the time that he turned the castle looking pissed. If you were familiar with the books, then you should know. No, it's not inane to let monsters walk away after they've killed people. If he had, then people would be whining that he was out of character. Don't give me that crap. I've been reading the books too. You've been slowly and steadily turning Dean more and more dickish with every volume. People get invested in these characters. They get upset when you have one of them suddenly turn into a cold-hearted bastard. You mean like when had Derek Storm kill his mentor? Castle sputtered. That was different. He was having an identity crisis. He was taking out his self-hate on him because they were so familiar. He was the reason Derek was the way he was. Sure, it's easy to say that now, justifying after the fact is always the weak way out. Rolling his Chuck said, rolling his eyes. I can't believe your fans bought that load of crap. But Kate stopped paying attention to the squabbling riders anymore. She was focused on the two strange men. The tall one looked stocky and shocked and betrayed, but it was the edge into anger, which with someone his size wasn't something she really wanted to experience. It could get messy. The other one looked nothing more than guilty. His eyes glued to the ground, shoulders hunched. You killed Amy? The tall one asked. His voice depictively soft, but his shaking of his clenching fist revealed he was barely holding it together. Oh, I left out the best part, Castle went on. Her kid saw the whole thing and Dean threatened to kill him if he ever caught him killing people. I think the Lexus is traumatized. Seriously, Chuck. Not cool. Wait, you? Man, you guys really get into this role-playing stuff, huh? The two guys weren't paying attention to Castle, though. The tall man looked like he was about to be sick and just walk away, leaving the other one to trail after him with a plaintive, Sammy, wait! Kate, in the meantime, was fed up. Did we seriously come here instead of going to an actual murder suspect so you could argue over fake people? Castle looked over at her as if he had just realized she was there. She threw her hands up. The whole Papa Bear thing is nice, Castle, really, but Alexis doesn't need you to go threatening our offers because they wrote because something they wrote upset her. I think she'll agree when I tell her about this. Kate spun on her heels, leaving the insanity behind her. Let those weird guys pretend they were characters out of a book. Let the author argue over whose writing was getting better or worse. She had real dead people and real murders to deal with. Wait, wait, don't tell her! Castle shouted as he scrambled after her. She'll kill me! She shook her head but hid a smile. He may be a best-selling author and a protective parent, but part of Castle would always be the little boy afraid of getting in trouble when he did something stupid. As annoying as it was kind of cute. And thinking that probably made her just as much of an idiot as him. Hello, guys. This was Destructive Criticism by, well, I can't remember, but it's a fan fiction. I'll leave the description in the. Ugh! My mind! I'll be leaving a link to the story in the description box. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you enjoy the new mic. I'm glad you guys were able to stay long enough to listen to it, even if I had some moments of pause and insanity. But if you have any ideas of suggestions I could do, or just subscribe and like, and we'll get back to commentaries and maybe some reviews. Though, if you enjoy this, just let me know, and maybe find a fan fiction you'd like me to read. It could be of Castle, it could be almost of anything. Just remember this: stay calm, stay relaxed, and remember, Wolf Titan signing.